Hello, everyone. I'm Kausal Kafle, a PhD student at William and Mary, and the lead graduate student at Secure Platforms Lab. So this work on understanding the privacy practices of political campaigns in the US is a joint effort between William and Mary and my colleagues at IBM and Google. So political campaigns have become large data harvesting operations in the US, and we hear many privacy related issues or sometimes even outright scandals of campaigns misusing private data of voters. For example, we've all heard of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, but there was one presidential campaign in back in the 2016 election, which was reported to be selling voter data that they gathered to the opposing campaigns after the campaign was over. So this begs the question: how transparent are the privacy practices of these election campaigns really in practice? And do they inform the voters about their data privacy postures? And so this is important because first, the private data that is being collected in the political context can be very, very sensitive because it can not only reveal the political leanings of the voters, but it can also reveal their socioeconomic beliefs on certain um, certain sensitive topics like immigration or guns and so on in today's very hyper partisan environment, which they may not like. So around 74% of users that were surveyed after the Cambridge Analytica scandal actually expressed concern about their data being used for political purpose. And prior work has already shown that users actually desire strong privacy guarantees only once they know how their data is being used within a software system. However, despite the fact that users actually care, and despite the fact that campaigns collect large volumes of sensitive data, they are exempt from any kind of privacy regulations in the U.S. Because they are classified as nonprofits. But regulating the data privacy of campaigns is not unprecedented as EU already regulates political data under GDPR. So our study is the first one. It is our study is the largest scale study, largest scale analysis of privacy posture uh, of election campaign websites in the U.S. So we decided to focus on websites because websites first enable campaigns to perform this data collection at scale. So we were interested to see what kind of data types they collect through their websites. And another reason for this is that even so websites seem to be the focal point through which campaign operations are conducted. So even when campaign put out posts or messages or social media posts, which are all of those seem to be geared towards getting the voters back to their website to either sign up for the campaign or donate money or volunteer in some other fashion. And finally, websites allow campaigns to fill in this missing information through their website, missing information that they may not have from their voter by collecting this directly from the website through their surveys or data collected through the sign up process. So in this study, we mainly focus on these three questions. What data do campaigns collect from their website? Do they disclose the use or the processing and retention practices to the voters? And is there any conflict between their disclosures and their actual practice? In the past, we have performed a corresponding study on smart home vendors, which are for profits, and they are in fact bound by some of the privacy regulations like GDPR or CPRA and so on. So this gives us a chance to provide a little bit of context and contrast between what the for-profit domain is like and what the non-profit domain of election campaigns is like. I'll bring in some of the findings from our prior work on smart home vendors whenever appropriate for comparison. But I'll mainly focus on the findings of the first work. So to perform that analysis, we built a framework called Politizer, which has three main components. The campaign collector is the one that streamlines and automates the task of data collection. This was not trivial because first of all, like the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, does not, even though it registers all of the campaigns and candidates, it does not store campaign website URLs. So we decided to use Ballotpedia, which is a for-profit, which is a non-profit political encyclopedia for the U.S. But FSC uses formal name of candidates, whereas Ballotpedia can use for informal names. So Joseph would be Joe, for instance. So we created a special search mechanism by pairing the name with state or party or district or the other metadata, and perform targeted search to first locate Ballotpedia profiles of candidates, and finally we then parsed the Ballotpedia profile to extract campaign URLs, and finally go on to build a crawler that can save the HTML pages from the websites locally. So that was the campaign collector. The second component is the campaign processor, which is responsible for extracting the parts of the website we need for analysis. So, for example, if we are to do privacy policy analysis, the campaign processor first performs a lookup for privacy policy pages within the website by performing privacy keyword search. So we look up words like privacy, or even vague words like policy or statements in our privacy keywords bag, and we look for all of these privacy keywords in every single web page within a website, and every single web URL within a website. So if there is a privacy policy present, the campaign processor, the privacy policy extractor part of the campaign processor, then extracts all of the collection, sharing, retention, those kind of sentences from the privacy policy, and puts it out for labeling and analysis from the analyzer. And analyzer is a third component in Politizer, which performs the actual analysis and aggregates the result. So our final data set consisted of the House, Senate, and presidential candidates. The active and inactive refers to whether the campaign. So active campaigns are the ones that participated in the general election, while the inactive campaigns were the ones that either lost in the general election or dropped out for some other reasons. The incumbents in the case of Senate are the senators that didn't actually participate that didn't have to participate in the general election, because senators have 6-year cycles. So the incumbents in this case would be those that didn't participate in the election but actually had a functional campaign website. So this data set, there was we were able to download a total of more than 2,000 campaign websites in our data set. All right, so first, regarding the results, what data do campaigns collect from their websites? We found that campaigns actually overwhelmingly use campaign websites to collect private data, or PIIs. Almost 71% of them were collecting private data from their websites, and there were 28 unique kinds of data types. But most common ones would be the ones we would think about, like names or emails or phone and location. However, there were 12 campaigns that actually collected data of not just the users, but also of their parents or friends. So these would be the parents' names and email, friends' name and email, and so on. And in 2 cases, campaigns also collected the same information from the user's partners. So this is going to be, so this obviously impacts the privacy of people other than the user, and this is going to be non-consensual by definition, because the other person is not going to be able to provide consent in this scenario. And finally, 3% of the campaigns collected socioeconomic opinions with the private data of voters, which allows campaigns to directly build a voter profile directly from their campaign websites. And as I'll discuss next, many of them are doing so without disclosing what they do with this data in through their privacy policies to the voters. So so regarding the so this is regarding the data collection practices, but there were big problems in privacy policy, actual privacy policy analysis that we found. So do campaigns properly disclose data collection, sharing, or retention? It turns out that 71% of them do not. So which is the large majority of campaigns, and there were around 64% of these campaigns were actually collecting private data from their websites. So this same number in the smart home context, in the smart home vendors context, was so there was around 10.5% of the smart home vendors that did not provide any kind of privacy policy in their website, and there were 43% of them that didn't provide a smart home specific privacy policy. So already we can see some of the changes in the numbers here regarding for profits and non-profits. So let's talk about the cases where there was a privacy policy. So even in cases where there was a privacy policy, it turns out that 41% of the campaigns with the privacy policy did not disclose all of the collected private data. And this same number again for the smart home vendors context was just 25%. So this is starting to become a pattern where for-profits are doing slightly better than the non-profit election campaigns. We know that campaigns. So by intuition we can kind of tell that campaigns have a practice of data sharing among each other or central party and so on. But it turns out that 23% of them do not discuss sharing at all in their privacy policy. Again, this same number in the smart home context was just 2.1%. And perhaps more critically, even more critically, we found that none of the campaigns, zero campaigns, actually discuss what happens to the private data that they collect after the campaign ends. So this is a problem because it allows the campaigns unbounded access or unbounded control over the data that voters give to them. And they do not have to abide by any sort of restrictions because they do not disclose what happens to the data after the campaign ends, which is a big problem. So the next finding is, so we actually signed up for around 26 campaigns ourselves. So these are the campaigns where we actually submitted our own emails and data and private data, and we signed up for the campaigns. We created separate email addresses for each campaign that we signed up for, so that we could track the flow of our email addresses to others. And we found 8 campaigns actually shared our email addresses to others, but 3 of them were doing so without disclosing that to us or providing a privacy policy. This is again, so this gives us some proof that that the sharing is actually happening in practice. So in the next case, so we found that campaigns that were using a particular fundraising website, the name is redacted also in the paper, so I don't mention the name here, but campaigns using a particular fundraising website may have been inadvertently sharing data to other campaigns indirectly because the privacy policy of what the campaigns say, that when the campaigns say that they do not share data, it doesn't align with what the fundraising website says when it so this particular fundraising website's privacy policy said that they were allowed to share data to other campaigns, other like-minded campaigns when candidates submit their data to them. So this was a case where a conflict was happening between what the campaign says and what the fundraising website was saying. So all of this leads to shows the challenges and the gaps in privacy policy disclosure from the campaigns. So we reported we disclosed our findings to the campaigns, and the response that we got showed clear misunderstanding of what privacy policies are, the lack of technical expertise from the campaigns, and there were at least 2 of the campaigns that explicitly suggested that the lack of federal law was the reason that they did not have a privacy policy. And one candidate actually to convince their central party to provide resources and ask for the change in the status quo if we are to improve the status quo. So this gives you a bit of context around why this is happening. So to wrap up, we saw that by some metrics, the privacy posture of an unregulated space like the election campaigns is a lot worse than a regulated space like the smart home vendors, which motivates the need for having privacy regulations in this space as well, targeted privacy regulations in this space. And because the campaigns are not disclosing what is happening to voter data currently, and they're not disclosing what happens to the data critically after the campaign ends, consumer data can be at risk both at present and in the future. And finally, as prior work, as I mentioned, that prior work shows that users start caring about privacy when things are transparent about when systems are transparent about how their data is being used. So transparency is the key factor, and only through precise and accessible disclosure practices to the voters can we establish can we provide them with informed choices in the context of election, in the context of participating in the election. So thank you very much, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to my contact address here. Thank you.